The agenda for today is very simple. All of you would know we've got to analyze Bullcat 2. That's what we would be doing today. Quick rounds of quick questions before we actually start with the session. I hope all of you have the copy of the paper with you. Simple yes and no. Okay. So those of you who do not have a copy of the paper, kindly open your email. The PDF is attached with that email, so the paper would be there in your PDF. So make sure that is you have a handy copy of that. So that is what you got to do. Otherwise, we'll keep moving through the slides. This is a verbal ability session. I'm extremely sorry, but the bald man is not too good with logical reasoning, so he'll only be doing the verbal ability section. Fair enough? Chalo, let's begin with the session. Let's begin with the first question. We'll be doing a few simple things. We'll keep discussing a little bit of strategy as well every now and then. Keep talking about little things that you should keep in mind while solving questions along with solving the questions. Two things that I want you guys to know today. We've omitted some of the questions from the discussion because it's just not possible to go through every question in this session. So all the questions would not be covered. Some of them have been eliminated. The second thing is what we'll be doing is, while we are solving the questions, I would expect you guys to come up with answers as quickly as you can. So just keep discussing those questions, keep asking me your doubts, I'll keep clarifying them. Okay. Third thing, one small little thing, we'll keep the word meanings to a minimum. We don't want to discuss a lot of word meanings. You can always look up the dictionary and figure out the meanings. So that is something that you can do on your own. I'll try to highlight the meanings of the words which are important, but most of them we'll give it a skip. I want you guys, in fact, if anyone wants to ask a word meaning, just type in the chat box and someone else can reply, and that can keep happening side by side. So those are the ground rules for discussion for today. I hope I am absolutely clear. A quick round of yeses would help me out here. I mean that everyone is into the discussion. Okay, great. So everyone is active, alive. They are not sleeping. Great. So we can begin with the session. Question number 1 is what we begin with. Question number 1 is question number 51 in the paper. So let me just load it for you guys. Okay. So the question is visible. It's a coherent paragraph question. So this was an easy question. This is a coherent paragraph question. Any one of you got this question wrong? Quickly go through the question first. I'll shift the slide in exactly 30 seconds. 30 seconds, read this slide. Guys, am I audible to everyone? I can see majority of the answers are a yes, so I am assuming I am audible to everyone. Okay, I will explain this question. Just done reading the first slide? So we move on to the next slide. Read sentences 3 and 4. Done reading the sentences? Sentence number 3 and 4. Guys, you've got to be quick. The clock always ticks. Okay. See, the point in this question is what this question revolves around. Some of you might have got it wrong. Some of you would have got it right. The correct answer for this question, what is the correct answer, guys? What is your answer? Quickly. Option number 1 is the correct answer for this question. For those of you who got it wrong, see, what you've got to keep in mind is what do we do in a coherent paragraph question? What should we look out for? If we are considering the whole question, on the face of it, this question is about Facebook. Okay, that is, but all the options are about Facebook wall post, likes, etc., etc. So on the face of it, the parts are related. But if you think closely about it, what are we discussing exactly? What is being discussed in this paragraph? What we are discussing here is the fact that read statement number 3 very closely. We all know that to online marketers, we are just the sum of our Facebook wall posts and likes, the ubiquitous virtual thumbs up that we attach to all manner of online ephemera. Okay? This line illustrates what am I discussing? What exactly am I discussing? I am trying to discuss here the fact that people try to extrapolate information about personalities from Facebook wall posts and likes, which are the 3 options which some way or the other imply the personality aspect. So which are the 3 statements which imply the personality aspect in this case? Those 3 options are statement number 2, 3 and 4. The tricky thing in this question is statement number 1. It says researchers from Cambridge University conducted a study of more than 58,000 US Facebook users obtained through a Facebook app called My Personality. But the thing is, we've actually got to look at the fact that what are we discussing here? We are discussing the Facebook likes and comments. What does option 1 state? It discusses 58,000 Facebook users. So there is a slight disconnect here. We need an option which talks about those comments or likes in a direct way or an indirect way. So that is what is missing in statement number 1. What it does is it gives me the name of a second study, which was my original study in a paper published in the Proceedings of National Academy of Science. So that is one study. The second study is researchers from university conducted a study of 58,000 Facebook users. 2 different studies. Keep that in mind. These are 2 different studies in this case. And that is why option number 1 is the odd one out in this case. What are the important things that you keep in mind for the odd one out questions? How should you actually technically solve it? So this is just a strategy tip in this case. Things that are important, things that should be kept in mind. How should you approach this question type? Thing number 1, approach it as a partial parajumble. So what you've got to do is try to look at a logical sequence. Exactly, you're right, Rudrasai. What we've got to do is we've got to look at a logical sequence. So for example, I've got to build whether it is 1 2 3 4 3 1 1 4 2 etc etc. Try to build a small little sequence of connected sentences. What that would do is that would help you, that would allow you to identify which is the one, which is the odd one out. So that is one thing that you should be doing. Second thing which you should always do. What is the main sentiment in this paragraph? Guys, who is the quickest here? Let's see. I've asked a simple question. The first question for today, what was the sentiment of the paragraph in general? What were these 4 lines about? Marketing is the one answer that we've got so far. Everyone else seems to be sleeping. Big data analysis, so that's a technical guy we know. Personality reflected by likes, interpretation of likes, personality, etc., etc. The topic in this case is how does personality link to likes and comments. So as soon as you know that, you have now a rough roadmap of the kind of statements that you should be searching for, and that is what you do in statement numbers 2, 3 and 4. They revolve around the central topic. Statement number 1 gives me information, but that is extra information not directly linked to the main agenda of statement number 2, 3 and 4. Okay guys, we move on to the next question now. The next thing that we do for this session, there is one peculiar thing about this paper. Out of the 5 RCs in the paper, 3 of them were based on science. How many of you like science? How many of you like science? Science-based passages. Okay. So we've got yes, no, some have said commerce background, etc., etc. So what we do in this case is, how do you approach science-based passages? See, passages are all about taste. Some of you would like science-based passages, some of you would not like science-based passages. So the taste part definitely comes into the picture. That definitely happens. In this case, since we are talking about science-based passages, you've got to do a couple of things that I would highly recommend. How many of you have heard of the website scientificamerican.com? Scientificamerican.com. If you've heard, say yes. Some of you have, some of you haven't. One source that you should start reading every now and then, some articles from scientificamerican.com, probably 2 to 3 every week. So that is what you've got to try to do. See, very important that you diversify your reading. How do you diversify your reading? You read different things. So you log on to scientificamerican.com or even the National Geographic website. It has a few good science articles. Every now and then break your regular reading patterns. This is almost a diktat from my side. So you've got to read those articles. So that is something that you've got to do. For philosophy articles, I would recommend a couple of things. One, please read the blog Philosopher's Beard, Philosopher Ki Dadi, okay, which is pretty bad translation, but that is a blog that you've got to read. Philosopher's Beard. I am just typing in as well. Guys, I struggle with typing and speaking at the same time. So while I am typing, I will not speak. Okay? So that is, please keep that in mind. 2 philosophy sources that you should be definitely following. One is the Philosopher's Beard. The other is, there is a section on New York Times, The Stone. So these are the 2 sections that you should definitely be following. Very good sources for philosophy. For economics, please read Project Syndicate. For economics and global politics, Project Syndicate. One book on philosophy, must read for everyone. So this Sophie's World is a book which is a must read for everyone who's appearing for CAT. It would give you awesome philosophy prep. So these are the things, these are the side notes for reading that you should be keeping in mind. We'll switch back to the analysis now. We'll come back with this, what I call Gyan, a little later. We'll come back to it a little later. Now we shift back to the questions. Question number 52 to 54. Question number 52 to 54. Quickly read the passage. one strict instruction for this passage while reading. This is a strict instruction. Every passage, that a paragraph that you read, you've got to mentally summarize that this is the summary of the passage. One line summary for every paragraph of the passage. So that is something that you've got to do for this passage. Fair enough? Sounds good? Start. You get 180 seconds to read the passage. The recording of the session would be available later. That would be uploaded later. Soumil, you've got to read the passage. I know verbal can be boring at times, but please read. If you've got the PDF, read from the PDF. Guys, still reading this? Should I shift? Quickly type in yes if should I shift to the next slide. Extra 30 seconds. Quickly read it. Shift it to the next slide, guys. Generally, the length of the passage is around 600 to 800 words. So that is what the length is, 600 to 800 words. Rudrasai, there is no one such parameter. You've got to allocate time according to the passage. No one such rule of thumb. Ashish, the book is Sophie's World. The New York Times section is The Stone. Guys, read this slide. Taran, the level of this passage is a good one. This is a good passage. Shifting to the next slide. This is the last slide for this paragraph. Guys, ready? थोड़ा जल्दी पढ़ो यार. Getting bored. We're taking too much time. जल्दी करो, फिर टुच्चे वाले क्वेश्चन भी करने हैं हमने. Okay guys, the first question, 52, out of lunch in this context means. This is a really silly question. In silly, I'll rephrase myself, silly sounds bad. This is a really easy question. In case you got it wrong, what you've got to do is, in case those of you who got this question wrong, what you do is you pick up your right hand, move it a little away from yourself, from your body, and quickly swing it towards your face, because this is that simple. Out of lunch in this context means, what does out of lunch mean? Out of lunch means incorrect interpretation. It is a simple question. Anyone with any doubt in this question? No doubt, so I'm shifting to the next question. See, this was the easy one. Those of you who got it wrong in the exam, this is a problem. So if in case you got it wrong, it means that you did not interpret it right. See, Birangat, you've got to be really careful here. He says out of lunch in this context means. So you've got to provide the meaning of the phrase in the given context. He says that we'll be completely out of lunch if we got it wrong. So that means our interpretation would be completely incorrect, because now the case which has been talked about is if we got it wrong. So it cannot mean having good mental judgment. It means interpreting the information incorrectly. So that is what it means. Next question. Akanksha, it cannot be a lack of information, because the information is already there. They are trying to interpret it. What they are saying is, if we look at things the wrong way, if our theory is proved incorrect, we'll be completely out of lunch, which means if my analysis is wrong, the information is there. We are analyzing that information. So that is why it is wrong interpretation. 53rd question, guys, quickly go through it. Answers. We are getting a lot of 2s. We're getting 1, 1, 1, 3. This is a slightly difficult question. This is a slightly difficult question. The first thing that you need to understand for this question is, when he says which one of the following is the best analogy to the imprints of the early ripples phenomena, what exactly is the ripples phenomena? What exactly is the ripples phenomena? What does he mean by the ripples phenomena? I'll just read the lines of the passage again quickly, where he talks about the ripple phenomena. When the universe cooled down enough for atoms, some areas were more dense than average, creating hot spots that drove particles out to cooler regions, which in turn caused waves to travel at the speed of sound. The result was a series of ripples through the sea of particles. When the universe cooled down enough for atoms to form and light to escape, the oscillations ceased. At that particular moment in the history of the cosmos, the ripples were frozen into the density distribution of matter, so that now when astronomers map the heavens, they find the imprints of the early ripples in the way that galaxies are clustered. So what has happened is, there were ripples. Those ripples were generated through some scientific phenomena. This is the information that I'll take out of it while solving. Those ripples they were frozen in time and they could not escape. The ripples were stuck. But it's the ripples used to travel in time. See, that is what you got to do. How am I analyzing the data? I am looking at the data. It happened millions and millions of years back. I'm getting waves right now, and through those waves I'm trying to analyze that data. The ripples are there. They have not disappeared. They have remained there. They are stuck. So now we've got to look at an option where the where this phenomena, for example, if you look at option number 2, if you draw a pattern on the balloon and then inflate it, then as the balloon expanded, the pattern would persist though its scale would change. Similarly, the ripples persisted in time. So Kashish is 100% correct. They persisted, they did not disappear. So you've got to look at an option where the pattern persists. Option number 1, if you took a hammer and stuck a huge sheet of copper at the center, the shear lines would indicate the force with which the hammer was struck. The problem with 1 is you are creating, if I talk in parallel terms, you are creating the ripple here. The ripple is not meant to be created. The ripple have been stored and they are persisted. Similarly, in option number 2, the lines persist when the balloon expands. So that is the problem in option number 1. Option number 3, if you drew a pattern on the beach and the tide partially wiped away the pattern, the incomplete traces would be enough to understand the volume of water that struck the beach. Why is option number 3 incorrect? Akansha, it cannot be the hammer analogy for the simple reason the hammer analogy implies what you are doing is you are using the hammer and you are creating shear lines. Now, had the analogy been something like this, the shear lines are already contained in the copper at its center, and then you strike and you change the form of the copper sheet, and the shear lines still stay in the copper sheet. And let us decide how the copper sheet looked originally. Then it would have been option number 1. See, you've got to keep one thing in mind. The pattern has to persist in time, over a period of time. That is the central idea. Option number 3, again, there is no logical connection here. In the ripples, what I was talking about was something being stored and persisted with. That is not happening in option number 3. Option number 4 is completely illogical, does not relate to the passage. So that's the explanation for this particular question. The third question for this passage. Question number 54. Guys, 10 seconds. Give me the answer to this question. One, two, three, four. So slightly debatable question. We are getting slightly different answers for this one. See, you've got to keep one thing in mind while answering these questions. One very, very simple thing in mind. A useful verbal tip that would be pretty useful if you keep it in mind. Option number 3. Let's start with option number 3. Discussing option number 3. Confirming dark energy exists is the only way to understand the nature of the universe. What is the problem with this option? Option number 3. Biggest issue. Exactly, Kashish. Only is the problem in this option. It is not the only way. It is actually given right at the end of the passage. Even if dark energy is wrong, even if the theory is wrong, we'll be able to find we'll at least know that the theory is wrong. So that is given at the end of the passage. So I cannot use such a strong word. Now compare it with option number 1. Finding information of the universe closer to the Big Bang is plausible. यार इसको मैं ना अपनी लैंग्वेज में Manu, you are really distracting me with your comments here. But Kashish is doing a really good job. I'll get back to option number 1. Finding information of the universe closer to the Big Bang is plausible. Guys, you've got to get a sense of something which is happening here. Something very, very subtle. Here, मेरे हिसाब से ना I'll shift to the language that I really love, which is English. There is going to be a mix of Hindi and English from now onwards for explaining questions. If if you think about it closely, yeah, option number one na diplomatic answer option hai. It is actually a very, very diplomatic answer option. Neither it is one way nor it is the other way. It simply says finding information of the universe closer to the Big Bang is plausible. What does plausible mean? Guys, quickly, plausible, what does it mean? Perhaps true, probable, हो सकता है, credible, probable, probably true, arguable, possible. The best way of describing plausible is something which can exist, something which is possible. I'm not saying it has to be true. It simply means it can be true. So you can say possible or can be true. It can be false also. All I'm saying is it can be true. So what this actually means is option number one becomes a super duper diplomatic answer option. It simply says finding information of the universe closer to the Big Bang is plausible. It is possible. Yes, it is possible. Will it happen? We don't know. Will it not happen? We don't know. All we are saying is it is possible. Why is it possible? How do we obtain the information in this case? How do we obtain the information of the universe according to the passage? Those waves travel over a period of time. So what we get is we get this information of a previous era. So that is what happens. Similarly, it is possible that at some point of time we might get information which was there at the time of the Big Bang theory. Those waves might reach us. So it becomes plausible in this case. Guys, those of you who are having sound problems, the tech team is on it. So they would be rectifying it, looking into it. I really can't do much about it. Even if I wanted to do something about it, I'll not be able to do anything about it because I'm technically I'm very, very handicapped. So I'll not be able to do anything at all for you guys. So I would keep moving with the flow. So kindly do not feel bad about it. Just give me a second. Where were we? I have lost track. Okay, now we were explaining question number 54. So this is the explanation for option number one, and that is why it is the correct answer. Guys, answer is option number one. Those of you who are having problems, probably you can download the app and watch it on the phone. The app works pretty well actually. So there is absolutely no problem at all in that. So I hope everyone is clear with option number one because of the usage of the word plausible. Options number 2, 3, 4 are too strong. They are too deterministic. They cannot be the answers. Guys, always remember one thing. I'll keep repeating it. I'll drill it in your heads. This is literally like drilling it in your heads. It's at the cost of sounding repetitive and foolish. Extremely strong answer options are generally not the correct answer. So you've got to remember that always. This almost makes it, it's almost a rule. Overall, if you think about this passage, this is a difficult one. There are easier ones in the question paper. So these are slightly dicey questions. You could have gotten them wrong. If I talk about question selection, I could have avoided this passage and solved some of the others. So I could have done that. So that is clearly something which is possible. I could have done that. Fair enough. Guys, I have one additional question for you. One small little question. Do you remember the first paragraph of this passage? First paragraph of this passage. Okay, great. So I assume everyone is awake. I'm getting so many yeses. I have a simple question for you. You've got to answer it with a one-word answer. Fair enough? Just a one-word answer. The question is, with respect to the passage, what role does the first paragraph of the passage play? With respect to the passage, what is the organizational role the first paragraph of the passage plays? So, effectively I am asking, what is the role of the first paragraph relative to the rest of the passage? Analogy. Mapping technique exemplifies the theory. The answer for this is, some of you got it right, which was absolutely brilliant. It is an analogy, and as expected, Kashish is right. And Manu is also right. Manu would be happy now. So it is an analogy. Analogy is an example. See what happens in an analogy? You give a parallel example. The passage was about, what was the topic of the passage? The passage was about dark energy and the universe and all that matter. But the first paragraph was about ants. So he's using the example of ants and how a map is built of using ants. He's creating a parallel with the Big Bang theory and dark matter and waves, etc., etc. This is what you call, what is an analogy. Keep in mind, Cat at times asks you this question: what is the organization of the passage? What is the structure of the passage? In this question type, generally what you've got to do is you've got to convert it into one word, whatever the structure is. So it's generally one or a two-word answer. So you would do well to know words such as analogy, hypothesis, conjecture, summarizes, etc., etc. So all those things you should, these are some terms that you should definitely know about, would help you in answering the questions. What is a conjecture? Exactly. Brilliant, guys. So I don't have to now come into word meanings. Great job, all of you. Guys, shifting to question number 55, just give a second for the slide to load. It's there. You got 30 seconds. Solve this question. 30 seconds. Guys, answer is option number 3. Option 3 is the correct answer in this case. For these question types, how many of you are, what to do is, in this case is, how many of you are specifically practicing this question type? Those of you who are practicing this question type, that means you are trying to learn common confusables. Quickly type in a yes. Okay, I have an exercise for all of those who've said a no. A simple exercise. The last time we used our right hands. This time we will use our left hand. Kindly move your left hand away from you, away from your body. Raise it and quickly move it towards your cheek. It should hit it. The impact should be complete. Guys, you can. This is almost equivalent to in Sholay, the famous dialogue. This is almost equivalent to suicide. That is what you are doing. This is a crime. You cannot kill yourself. You've got to practice for confusing common confusables. Quick sources for this. Couple of things that you should be doing. A, please. What you've got to do for this question type, the sources that you've got to look into. One, Birangat has given a name of a website which is by the name of wordpundit.com. It is a brilliant website. I also got to know about it a few days back and I absolutely loved it. It's a very good website. Yes, absolutely. Share the link as well. It is so good. the next thing, the next couple of sources that you should be using, I'm just typing in the name of the website. I will not be speaking for the next couple of minutes, so I'm just typing in the website name. Guys, you've got to do a couple of things. One, you've got to look into Grammarist.com. It's a good resource, very well organized. I love the website, clean interface, not a lot of advertisements and all. It's pretty clean. The second thing I've got to do is एक बहुत ही फेमस वेबसाइट है यार दुनिया में, शायद तुमने सुना उसके बारे में, उसका नाम है google.com, GOOGLE, ठीक है। google.com पे जब आप लॉगिन करते हैं एक डब्बा आता है, उस डब्बे में आप कुछ भी सर्च कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। सो व्हाट यू गॉट टू डू इज गूगल पे जाइए और सर्च करिए लिस्ट ऑफ कॉमन कंफ्यूजेबल्स, लिस्ट ऑफ होमोनिम्स, लिस्ट ऑफ होमोफोन्स, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा। सो यू गॉट टू रन दीज क्विक सर्चेस, यू विल गेट PDFs, ready made PDFs. Make sure you download, you collect all of them, and you start going through them one at a time. Considering there are 3 months to go, I want you guys to at least go through 10 to 15 every day. See, what would happen is you would know majority of these. For example, what is the difference between attentiveness and attention? What is the difference? I'll get to know how many of you are attentive in the classroom right now. Difference between attentiveness and attention. Guys, answers. I'm going to kill you if I could. अरे कितने कितने चालू लोग हो ना तुम। थोड़ा सा मुश्किल वाला क्वेश्चन पूछा तो आंसर नहीं दे रहे, इजी वाला क्वेश्चन पूछो तो सारे लोग ठक ठक शुरू हो जाते हैं। Good, better. This is the kind of response that I want. Attentiveness and attention, these are little differences that majority of you are absolutely right in this case. These are the kind of differences that you know. These would not cause a lot of problems. So for example, in this case, the first sentence would take attentiveness. What would the second sentence take? It would take the unit has a distinctive approach to training and development. Distinctive, when I use the word distinctive, I want to imply that it is different from others. Characteristic just tells me that it has some property, does not imply it is unique. So it's a simple one. This one is simple. The third one is the difficult one. Absolutely, Birangat. The population of Ontario constitutes / comprises over 35% of the population of Canada. This is the tough one. I'll not explain 4 and 5. I'll only explain statement number 3. What is the difference between constitutes and comprises? Difference between constitutes and comprises. The population of Ontario constitutes / comprises over 35% of the population of Canada. What are we talking about in the second half? We are talking about something which is, I'll translate this into something which is over 35% of the population of Canada. So something, what should I use in this case? Since I'm saying over, I have to use constitutes. So that is the word that I would use. When can I use comprise? Anyone can come up with a sentence example. I want a exactly, it should have been comprises of. So that is one more thing. The population of Ontario comprises, I could have said the population of Ontario comprises of Indians. So that is a valid sentence. I can say the population of Ontario comprises of Indians. But since I am saying it constitutes over something, I have to say the population of Ontario constitutes over 35% of the population of Canada. That means it is that much, that is the portion of population. So that is why we use constitutes in this case. Okay? So that is the difference in this case. Difference between attentiveness and attention. The innkeeper's attentiveness / attention to his guests' comfort was much appreciated. In this case, I need a quality of the innkeeper. The innkeeper's attention, the innkeeper's attentiveness. Which is the positive quality of the innkeeper? Because something has been appreciated. The positive quality is not his attention. The positive quality is his attentiveness. So that is why the answer is attentiveness and not attention. That is a simple kind of question. Manu says his third eye works in such kind of questions. Whenever the term third eye comes or somebody mentions the third eye, all I can remember is the third eye of Nirmal Baba. So that is what I remember. And it's pretty clear that Manu के ऊपर कृपा है, ठीक है? So those of you who know Nirmal Baba, so you would get the joke. So for the others, it's just useless nonsense that you can skip over. Next question. बिल्कुल इनसे हो जाएगा. Guys, we are now on question number 56. I am giving you exactly 1 minute 30 seconds to solve this question. Can you see question number 56? यार थोड़ा जल्दी सॉल्व करो, नहीं तो मेरे को ओवर टाइम लगाना पड़ेगा. जल्दी करो. मेरा ओवर टाइम तुम्हारे ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है. Guys, how many of you marked the answer as option number 2? What does ontogenesis mean? What does ontogenesis mean? Ontogenesis is the growth through a biological process when someone grows through development from embryo to birth. Absolutely correct, Birangat. So that is what ontogenesis is. In this case, what does the original paragraph talk about? I'll just quickly read the paragraph and go through the process of solving this question so that you know how to solve para-completion questions. So that is something that I'll try to do with this question. My Son's Story is the novel which Godimer wrote during the final years of the last state of emergency, but which was overtaken by history. It was published some months after the emergency had been lifted in February 1990. My Son's Story is a novel about the genesis of its narrator, Will, as a writer. Genesis is the birth. It is in it he tells the story that has written him into being, the tale of his relationship with his father and his father's mistress Hannah Plowman, his sister baby and his mother Alia. So that is what the book is about. It is about Will the writer. Who writes this book? Mortimer writes this book. Godimer has written this book. This is about Will. Will is the central protagonist of the book. So that is the information that we have from this paragraph. That is what I take out. Now I shift to option number 1. Will is Godimer's first colored narrator, a character who constantly refers to his community as those of our kind, and who in the course of bringing his life into text becomes one of those self-conscious people to whom Godimer refers as me and my kind in a Nobel Prize lecture. So effectively I cut the crap in option 1, and what is it that I'm left with? Option number 1 tells me some of the properties of Will. What kind of a character is he? What does he do? What does he talk about in the book? The next slide. The next 3 options. It was both ontogenesis as the origin and development of an individual human being. See, this is well written, but what happens is it goes slightly off track here. What is this ontogenesis? Where have I, all of a sudden, where has this come in from, etc., etc. In any case, I've already talked about the birth. So it isn't his ontogenesis. Option number 3, Godimer situates herself in a relation to the world brotherhood of some 40 odd authors. The point is, why are we now talking about Godimer? We need an answer option which has Will in it. So Will is very, very, very important. Last, Will is a narrative about the power of language and its mastery, and about authority and authorship. Is Will that narrative? Will is not that narrative. Go back to the last slide here. What does it mean? It tells that Will tells his story. You need an answer option which talks about what Will does. Guys, a simple question. After reading the paragraph, can we say Will is a strong guy who shows authority? We can't say that. All we know is Will is someone who's given out his story. So we need an answer option that continues that sentiment of his story being discussed. So which option does that? Option number 1. Guys, one tip for such kind of a question. Which is the topic for this question? Which is the subject? If I have to tell what is the subject of this paragraph, is it biology? Guys, this is biology, right? The subject of this paragraph is literature. It's not biology. Obviously, I was just kidding. It's literature. In order to strengthen your skills in this, with this kind of text, you've got to do something very, very simple. One simple tip. How many have you heard of the newspaper which goes by the name of The Hindu? Great, people have heard about it. Wow, we've got to celebrate now. Now that you've heard about this paper, what you've got to do is, this has completely taken my attention. How can you even compare Hindustan Times and Hindu? So those of you who know about Hindu, those of you who also know about its price, keeping that aside, there is once a month supplement that Hindu comes out with, the literary review. So that is a once a month supplement that they come out with. Make sure you read a few articles from that. That is that's a very good supplement for reading literature based articles. So read the literary review by the Hindu. It is difficult to read, but you've got to practice it. I am sorry, I don't remember the exact day when it comes, but it comes once a month. The second thing that you've got to read for literature based articles, there is a website by the name of The New Yorker. I'm just typing it in. So the New Yorker also has a very, very strong inclination for literature and liberal arts. So a lot of articles are based on liberal arts and literature. So that is something that you should be studying. Awesome job, Rudrasai. This is what we need. We need people to come up with links instantaneously. Kindly also paste the link for the New Yorker. Naman, can you see the top of my head? It must be shining in your screens. I'm bald as an egg. That is why I have lost my hair. I have read for so many years that I'm actually thinking about all that I have read has made me lose my hair. That is the sad reality. That is what my parents tell me at least. Chalo guys, we are done with this question. Shifting to the next question. Question number 57. Quickly, you've got 30 seconds. Come up with the answers. 30 seconds. एब्सोल्युटली मनु बहुत ही ज़्यादा मतलब इतने टुच्चे वाले एरर्स थे. ये तो जलील इज्जतलेस मतलब बिल्कुल ही मतलब इस क्वेश्चन की तो कोई इज्जत ही नहीं है. इतना आसान क्वेश्चन था, इतना आसान क्वेश्चन था. ये क्वेश्चन खुद को देख के मतलब दिस क्वेश्चन रिफ्यूज टू एक्नॉलेज इटसेल्फ. इट वाज सच एन इजी क्वेश्चन. Option the first sentence has an error, has taken the world, what should we say, by storm. The second one, while crossword puzzles, even though puzzles are a plural in this case, crossword puzzles refers to the game, so it has to be the game of choice. Third sentence is completely illogical. The they is completely out of place. When you read the sentence, it doesn't make sense. For grammar guys, you must have heard of the book Wren and Martin. So that is the basic text. Wren and Martin, High School Grammar and Composition. We've done that in school and it is the most miserable book on the planet for grammar. It is completely, absolutely 100% mind-bogglingly boring. It will kill you. If I want, that book would at least. It is so boring. So you've got a solution for that. That solution is very simple. There are 3 or 4 online resources that you should be looking up and you should be buying one small cheap little book. है तो Indian, चाहिए तो हमें सब कुछ सस्ता ही. By Better English by Norman Lewis. He's the same guy who's written Word Power Made Easy. I'm just typing in the name. Okay, so that is one thing that you should be doing. You should be using Better English. The second thing that you can use is one really good book is Grammar for the Utterly Confused. This book is, you will get a PDF for this book. This book is not available. This book is not available in bookstores. Nishant, he's used American English, but his errors are not incorrect. So if you are aware of those, there is not a huge issue. Plus, he is he teaches in a very, very good manner. It's entertaining, Better English. So definitely look up to it. So these are 2 resources that you should be using for grammar. Please use these 2 resources. One small suggestion. While you are using these 2 books, any term that you find, for example, you read the term gerund or participle, read it and then go back to Wren and Martin, open and try to understand what does a gerund mean. So keep Wren and Martin side. You'll have to keep it. You'll have to use it along with these books. So try to do that. Fair enough. So any other, Nishant, who and whom are super simple and actually does a very good job explaining them. I will completely disagree with you. He is probably the person who explains it the best. Most other books do a very, very crappy job. Guys, anyone with any doubt in question number 57? Else I am shifting to the next one. This is one question that you should have definitely got right in the question, in the exams. Shiv, you've got to, if the paragraph is a continuous paragraph, you'll get two kinds of paragraphs. One in which 5 independent sentences, another kind in which the 5 sentences are related. In case the 5 are related, then what do you do? In that case, in case the sentences are connected to each other, in that case, we've got to consider the whole paragraph. If they are independent, then we take them as separate. Yes, Naman, it's over an hour and we are on the 7th question. Yes, Anmol, you are absolutely right. We can also use Manhattan and Aristotle, but the only problem with those is those are GMAT specific. CAT asks for a lot of idiomatic errors, not necessarily GMAT based errors. So fair enough. Next question. No more doubts on grammar. I'm shifting to the next question. This is the question. Question number 58. The correct answer is option number 3. How do you do that? One rule for Rudrasai, you should not necessarily, you should not always be looking for logical sequence, but in case the sentences are related to each other, it's a continuous paragraph, then you can. Okay. For question number 58, one thing that you've got to keep in mind, which is the most generic statement that we need to begin with, it is statement number D. Another thing that you keep in mind is look at the options. The options only have D and B at the start. So I've got to pick which one is it. Is it going to be D which is going to start, or is it going to be B? So the starting is obviously D. The pairs in this case are D, B, C, A, E. E, how do we know it comes at the end? The also that it has. That means it is additional information. This is a super simple question. Those of you who got it wrong, you should not have got it wrong in the examination. This is a simple one that you should have solved correctly for sure. 100% you should have done this right. So if you got it wrong, this time you can spare this slap and you can actually use a chullu bhar ka pani. Okay, so you can do that. So we are moving to the next question. In case you've got doubts, you can refer to the explanation. This is a simple question, so I'm skipping that. Question number 59, guys. 30 seconds, answers, quickly. Simple way of solving this question. The first blank requires a negative word. Only one option has a negative word. Which is that option? Option number 1. Coherent, spontaneous, cogent are positive words. They cannot fit in the first blank. So only option number 1 fits in this case. Super simple question. Again, should have been solved correctly. 100% correction rate should have been there. You can, in case any one of you did not get this right, that means your strategy had a little problem in the examination. Shifting to the next question, guys. This is a terrible question. Answer for this, guys. For phrasal verbs, you get it right in the first go. or you leave the question. You do not obsess with this question. Always remember that. Do not obsess with this question type. You will not find the answer if you obsess yourself with it. The correct answer in this case, if you think something's wrong, consult the doctor to put your mind to rest. You cannot set your mind to rest. Look at it this way. Is there a knob or a setting that you can use to put your mind to rest? There is no such knob. In case any one of you wants to study phrasal verbs, there is a complete dictionary of phrasal verbs available. So in case you want to again kill yourself, you can go through that. Otherwise, read the question once. If you spot the error, fair enough. If you do not spot the error, you move on to the next question, like we are doing in this case. Guys, question number 64. Answer for question number 64. Quick. In my markings, I have this question as super easy. This is not easy. This is super easy. That is how simple this question is. So in case you got it wrong, you know what you've got to do. Shift into the next question. Question number 71. We've skipped a few questions in the middle. Quickly go read this paragraph. 30 seconds. Guys, read the paragraph? Answer for this question? Great, most of you got it right. Two options which are close, 2 and 3. Why don't we pick option number 3? Again, the issue is institutions which are based on permanent funds, they are the ones who don't pay attention to public opinion. If they don't do that, what do? They do things on their own. That is what option number 2 states. Option number 3 is a problem. It states the subscriptions that an institution receives are a test of its popularity. There is no talk of subscriptions. Nobody is opening up a subscription and telling people to come and pay. These are institutions maintained on permanent funds. What kind of funds are we talking about? We are talking about government funds. There is no subscription of any kind. Third is a tempting answer option, but is an incorrect answer option. I hope the guy with the name verbal is clear with the option. Okay, so I correct myself, Supriya. The gal with the name verbal. Yes, Shomik, my reasoning was a little off track there. I was a little presumptuous there. So we've got the next passage, guys, 77 to 79. Dig into it ASAP. "30 seconds and we will shift to the next question. Manu, we've skipped a few questions. We'll be only discussing the questions which are there on the slides. Since there is a paucity of time, we cannot discuss every question. और 72 वैसे ही बहुत ही ज़्यादा टुच्चे वाला क्वेश्चन है. Next slide. It's always a good way of knowing whether the passage is easy or not. If you get the answers right, it's an easy passage. Guys, answer for question number 77. Quick! It's a rapid fire round now. The clock is ticking. Problem. Who is going to tell me the problem with option number 4? Quickly, quickly, quickly. Option number 4. Problem. Problem with option number 4. Why is 4 incorrect? Exactly. Option number 4, potent and powerful are synonyms. They do not bring in new information. See, so potent and powerful both are synonyms of each other. It essentially means we are using the same thing. Cannot do that. We need two words to describe. So what are the two words? One, powerful. The second thing is, what is implied with methane? It is dangerous. How do I take out that implication dangerous? Methane effectively is 20 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. Guys, it's written in the paragraph. It is 70%. Theoretically, it is 70% dangerous. After you make for the adjustments of its decomposition, it is 20 times more dangerous. So that is why 20 times more, it causes more harm. So that is the inference that you take out of it. That harm that it carries, it is that in comparison to carbon dioxide, that is why you take out the dangerous bit. Here, dangerous is implied in terms of the threat to environment that it carries. Quick answer. Very, very quick answer. Question. Is methane bad for the environment according to the passage? Is methane bad for the environment according to the passage? Guys, you cannot say no to this question. Okay, I'll restate the question. Is methane bad for the environment? The only option is yes. That is what the passage states. So that is why it's a dangerous gas. That is your answer to why it is dangerous. Next question. What is the tone of the passage? Quick! I would quickly explain the options. Is he concerned? Yes, he is concerned. Concerned simply means he's worried about something. He is worried. Why is he worried? He's worried about the negative outcomes of the methane release. Is he indifferent? No, he's not indifferent. Indifferent is जिसको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता यार, उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता तो वो ये कहानी क्यों लिखता. इज ही कैजुअल? कैजुअल इज तुम कैजुअल डेट पे जाते हो यार. कैजुअल इज नॉन सीरियस अप्रोच. ये बंदा कैजुअल नहीं है यहाँ पे. इज ही जजमेंटल? Judgmental is he takes up a strong point of view and says this is the only thing which can be correct in the world. He does not do that. In comparison, option number 1 has the word authoritative, which simply means whatever he says or whatever he mentions in the paragraph, he is sure about it. So he is talking from a position of authority, that this is what is happening. That is why the answer is concerned and authoritative. Last question, question number 79. Which pertinent question would you ask the scientist after reading the passage? Supriya, at times authoritative can be used negatively. It's a word which can be used in both contexts. At times you should be authoritative when you've got to set the record straight. So it's a word which has both implications, positive as well as negatives. Depends on how you use it. This is a very tricky question. Which pertinent question would you ask to the scientist after reading the passage? 1. How much of the Arctic and neighboring regions will be submerged because of increase in water levels? Is it pertinent? No, not really. We are talking about the Arctic. किसको क्या फर्क पड़ता है वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है ना? हम हैं तो ऐसे लोग, हमें अपनी जो हम ग्लोबल वार्मिंग कॉज करते हैं उससे नहीं फर्क पड़ता, तो हम आर्टिक का क्यों सोचेंगे? Second, is methane more harmful to humans than carbon dioxide? This answer is already given. This question is already there in the passage, so it's irrelevant. Options number 3 and 4. Can anything be done to stop or reduce the emission of methane in the non-Arctic region? Fourth, what is the actual contribution of the sea methane release to the global methane budget, and how will it change over time? See, the important thing is, where is this methane stored? It is stored in the Arctic circles. Since it's stored in the Arctic circles, you really can't do much about it. You cannot reduce those. So if the globe warms up, that methane is going to be released. So this is not a pertinent question. That release is going to happen. Now what is pertinent for me is how much. What is going to be the impact of that release? That impact is given to me by option number 4. It provides what will be the impact of that methane release, that methane which is released. So that is what happens in this particular case. Fair enough. Should I shift to the next question? Great. Guys, question number 86. 10 seconds to solve the fill in the blank question. 10 and 10 seconds only. Okay guys, this is where vocabulary comes into the picture. As soon as we talk about vocabulary, we've got to mention one thing that is going to be our ritual for every time. Which is the best site to study vocabulary from? Quick answers guys. Awesome Manu. Vinod is also right. Great job guys. So we've reinforced word Pandit once again, so we can get back to the question. Although countries can construct stone barriers to separate us from others, no barrier is stronger than language, as one can infer volumes from the language of another, whether he is erudite or whether she is noble or mean. The words that fit in this case, what do I need to show? I need to show that countries are constructing some kind of barriers. What kind of barriers are we talking about in this case? The barriers in this case are which stop communication. Permutable, the first option that you've got to rule out. It's the stupid answer option in this case. Three options that I'm left with: surmountable, impregnable, redoubtable. Which are the two that I keep in this case? Impregnable and redoubtable. Redoubtable means something which induces fear. So it's between 2 and 3. Now you go to the second part, whether he is erudite or dash. Now as soon as you use or, you need a contradiction for erudite. Erudite is someone who is wise. What is the opposite of wise? Someone who is an anti-intellectual. Who is an anti-intellectual? A Philistine is an anti-intellectual. So that is why it is option number 3. Learned is simply a repetition of erudite, so it cannot be used in this blank. That is why we use redoubtable and Philistine in this case. So shifting to the next slide. Guys, quickly read through this question. Very, very quickly. This is a simple question that you should have definitely solved in the examination. 100% you should have solved it. The correct answer in this case, option number 2. How do you solve this? This is simply solved on sentiment. As soon as you read the paragraph, you know, and you read the answer options, it strikes you that this is what? Option number 2 is the direct continuation for this. He leaves it at the sentiment. He has to provide a reason. There is only one option which provides us that reason. The other options are too indirect. The language is dicey. So that's why the answer is option number 2 in this particular case. I hope you got it right in this particular case. Guys, this is the last question that we would be discussing. We have discussed for today. In the questions that are left, I would just point out a few specific things. For question number 91 to 94, out of questions number 91 to 94, 91, 2 and 3 are simple questions. Those are easy questions. So once this session is over, kindly check whether you solved these questions right or not. So these are important, easy questions that you should have definitely solved. 94 is a tough one that you could have skipped. Similarly, the last paragraph of the passage is a pretty decent one. It's a decent science-based passage. It's from the book Feynman Lectures. So that is another super awesome. Richard Feynman is was a very famous physicist. There is a book, Surely You Must Be Joking, Mr. Feynman. So that is an absolute must read for CAT. Surely You Must Be Joking, Mr. Feynman. So please go through that book as well. It's an absolute must read. Out of those questions for the last passage, you should have solved 99 and question number 100. They are the easy questions. Question number 98 should have been skipped in the examination. It is a difficult question. So that is about the strategy for the last questions. That brings us to an end for today. These are the questions that we have discussed, and this is what we would be covering. Wrap up for the session. A couple of important things that you've got to keep in mind. Please kindly go through all the reading suggestions that have been provided to you today. So go through those reading suggestions. Make sure you carry out those reading activities. In case you do that, your RCs are meant to improve for sure. Also look up the grammar resources that we've talked about, and your homework for tonight, absolutely compulsory homework for tonight. Please go back home and generate the list of confusing words that you would be studying in the next couple of months. So these are the home tasks that you should be doing. It's over and out from my side for today. Nandini, I'm extremely sorry there isn't one particular source for misfit questions. You don't need to practice them a lot. It's a reading based question. So focus on reading.